Hello folks, it's Wizard here of Wizard of Mo Games. Today we're at the Wizard's table and I'm recording today so that I can sort of teach the rest of the members of our group about the game Sorcerer. I fell in love with this game and backed it, and I've also backed the expansion, the solo and co-op mode Inbringer, and in preparation for that arriving, I'm going to go ahead and place this video so that the rest of the guys can sort of learn how this game works and why I love it so. So I'm going to pull this out and give you an idea of how it works. Basically, this is a battle game, and normally you would battle head-to-head as two different players, and you would be fighting over battlefields. So you would have battlefields out here in front of each other, and what you're going to do is cast minions out to fight on these battlefields against each other. And battlefields have life on them, so if a battlefield ever takes 12 damage, you'll track it. When you're doing damage, you're going to be doing damage based on dice rolls. If I roll regular skulls, my opponent will get to choose to place the damage amongst their minions or amongst the battlefield. And if they put it on the battlefield, if the battlefield ever reaches 12 damage, I would defeat that battlefield, flip it over, and then put a token here that says, hey, guess what? I won. Your goal is to win 2 battlefields. If you ever roll a critical, we'll get to the dice here in a minute, but if you ever roll a critical, you as the attacker get to choose where that critical is applied. Whereas if you roll skulls, then the defender can choose where to apply their damage. Most of the time, they would probably try to knock their minions out instead of taking damage to the battlefield, but sometimes you want to keep those minions there in order to attack back and clear their minions out. So it's sort of magic with area control. You're not killing the other player, you're destroying battlefields. So, and you'll be fighting against each other. Well, in a multiplayer game, we're going to have multiple player boards, and these boards are two-sided. We have the Egyptian style side, and then we have the standard style side. Believe me, these things are exactly the same, only they're sort of inverted. So what we will have little daubers, glass markers, I'm digging back here, that measure our actions and our energy. So what you'll do, you'll have a deck of cards, but I'll show you how that works in a second. And you will spend energy cost off of those cards. You'll use an action, spend energy cost, and then you will play them out to one of those battlefields. And when you do, there are certain effects that allow you to trigger things that will occur when they come into play. Some of them have battle effects that are only battle effects. But the goal is to capture the battlefields. In a multiplayer game, we're actually going to have multiple players out, and you will have battlefields between every player, like such. So you will only ever fight for the battlefield on either side. So I'm fighting against this guy and this guy, they're fighting against each other and me. And when you capture a battlefield, you completely reset it. You destroy all the cards that are on it, and then you basically start over, but you get a point. And your goal is to gain 2 points. I mean, all you got to do is win 2 of these battlefields, right? So you got to watch both sides, just like you would out here in the middle. All right, so let's pull this back, and we'll just go back to the standard single-looking game. So with these battlefields out here, we're going to start, we'll have 6 actions and we'll have energy, and on the board it tells you what those 6 actions are. So There will be ways to mitigate dice rolls. And I'm sorry I don't have all of this stuff out, but I will show you what we have. So the dice themselves will have blanks, and they'll have skull, they'll have double skull, and they'll have the pentagram, which is a critical. If you are unopposed at a battlefield, your damage is just going to go directly to the battlefield. And if you roll a critical, the critical would count as 2 points against a battlefield. Critical only counts as 1 point when you're battling minion to minion. When you roll the dice out and you're happy with your result, you say, okay, here's my stuff. Well, there are these little tokens that you earn during gameplay. And I'm digging some of those out now. When you play certain cards, you're going to have this little vessel here that is full, and then you're going to have these other tokens that are probably buried under here. There they are. You have, they're two-sided. There is damage on one side, and there are omens on the other. So the damage is a red, looks like it's bleeding or something like that, like a wound. And then the omen is a little pentagram. So when you play cards, they'll have a little tag on it underneath the cost that has a little pentagram hanging there. And if you play one, you're going to put one into your little omen pool. Okay, so say I have a couple of omens, and say the opponent has a couple of omens in their pool, and we've got creatures battling it out. They have a strength, and then they have basically a defense value, which is their hit points. So if they have 3 hit points and you hit them for 1, you throw a damage on them, they've got 2 more before they're going to get killed. Their strength value is how many dice they get to roll. So say I got a 4 strength, I'm going to roll them and say, oh boy, that looks great. I think I'm just going to keep that. And the opponent would have to apply 5 damage amongst their minions and or their battlefield. But if they had omens, they say, well, you know, I really don't like that. They can use 1 omen to force you to re-roll 1 dice. So you'd re-roll the dice and you put it out there. Okay, it's a single omen. And you could say, well, you know, I want to re-roll this one. You could spend an omen to do it, and oh, look what I got. Well, then you go back to the opponent until somebody's out of omens or both players pass wanting to change it. So this guy says, well, you know, I'm not happy with that roll overall. If he's got this and it's full, it's a first player marker and it moves every round, they can actually empty this once by flipping it over and say re-roll all dice. And you could do your own dice or you could do somebody else's dice. So, oh man, it's a last-ditch effort. Okay, I'm going to roll all of them. I re-roll them and look what I did. Wow, I did good. So now they could say, okay, I'm happy with that. They spend their last omen and say re-roll that double. Well, now they're out of omens, but you got to be careful because you're going to start with one battlefield and then work to the next one and then work to the next one. And each battle will go until everybody's exhausted. Then you'll move to the next and then you'll move to the next. So if you burn all your omens in the first battle, they're gone. So what happens is that we will play 6 rounds of placing cards, gaining energy, meditating, which is drawing 2 more cards, activating a power, which I'll get into later. Every one of the decks that you build will have, they're pre-constructed, but you're going to choose a character and a lineage and a domain, and then you're going to take and mix those up into a singular deck. And with the number of characters, domains, and lineages that there are, it's infinite possibilities. I mean, it's limited, but it's, you know, hundreds and hundreds of possibilities of combinations of them. But you'll keep doing this until until you run all of your actions out, and then we go into the battle phase. So then you're done with this part of it, and then you start doing combat against each other using these rolling dice, killing off minions, doing that and another. Then when the next round starts, you're going to reset your actions, and then you're going to choose either to roll an 8-sided dice or just gain. Whoever gets this token is going to get it. Next player, it will fill up again. And then they choose whether we just gain 4 energy each, or you take a chance and roll the 8-sided die. And so, you know, at 5, I'm like, well, let's just gain 4 energy. And you'll be able to see what energy everybody else has. These cards will have cost anywhere from 0 to 10 energy for some of the bigger cards. So let me pull those out and sort of show you how those work. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but once you put it all together, it's pretty cool. So I'm going to reach over here in my deck of many things. I'm going to grab a couple of domains here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 domains, but there's more coming, so there will be plenty of those. I'm going to burn these battlefields. I'm going to put a domain there, and let's put a domain here, and this looks like it's part of another domain, so let's pull that one out. All right, so the base game comes with 4 characters, 4 lineages, and 4 domains. So I'm just using 3 now, but there are, believe me, there's just a lot of them. And what this is, the lineages here. There's one. There's one. And this is part of another one. Okay, Bill, get your stuff together. I actually took the face cards off of each of these and put them in a double. Yeah. There we go. Like that. And then we will grab, you know, just like I do. I know what it is. My box is backwards, so everything I'm pulling out is the wrong direction. All right. So these are just a few samples of what you have. So you have character decks. So I've got a couple of character decks. Here we have Ragnar, and it comes with a base card, which I've double sleeved, and this is actually an action card that represents it. The rest of these cards are cards that will be added to your deck. So you can see on these cards, which I'm going to put out over here, different types of cards. This, and let's see if we got another one. We don't have any of those in there. All right, so what I have with these cards is that this card is a spell. It's just cast and put immediately into your discard pile or your graveyard. It has an action on there that you do. It has a cost in the upper part. It has a symbol that shows what deck it comes from, which is Ragnar's deck. This card has a cost, and it tells its power and its toughness, or its essence or defense. And this is how many dice it would roll. This one is another spell, but if you notice, there is a little omen token. And whenever you cast this, you would do what it says, but you would gain this omen into your pool. So throughout your deck, you're going to have items or cards that you play that is going to refill that dice mitigation reroll pool. Your character itself actually has a power that can be used as one of your actions. So you have these 5 actions you can do. Well, one of them is actually activating this guy. But when your battlefields are set up, you're actually going to have a standee that represents your guy, and you're going to choose one of those battlefields to put him in. So this ability can only be used in the battlefield that your guy is standing in. So you take your guy and you get to choose, and between each round you can move them around. You say, well, I'm going to put him in this battlefield. So the effects on his card can only be used in that particular battlefield. All right? So these cards, there are 10 of them, are part of your character deck. Then you'll pick a lineage. So say here's a lineage. This one is the Demonologist, and just like the others, it will have cards. And there's one more card type. I'm looking for one in here to see if this one has it. Most of them. Here we go. There's one. All right. So what we have with this one is he's got spells as well that he can cast. This one gives him choices. Destroy an attachment, which is this type of card, or remove all flame counters. So there's another set of counters that have flames on them and have bugs on them, basically, or spiders. Flames and spiders. Flames does delayed damage. It doesn't damage the character until the end of the round, and then they burn. If it's enough to kill them, they're gone, the flames come off. If not, they just remove enough damage until they're gone, but the flames stay on the card. So those are the ones that you will use to block and sacrifice, because they're going to burn up anyway. This one is a larger character. He's cost 5 to cast, and you get an omen, but he's got a little skull next to his name. It's Memon. The skull next to his name means that he is basically a legendary creature. And there will be plenty of cards that have text that say, do this to a non-legendary creature, because the legendary creatures are unaffected by some of these small things that occur. Then this third card here, you play it for 1. It's an omen. It's actually an attachment, and it has +3 and +1. So if you were to attach it to this guy, you would put it over there. He would have 8 dice and 5 health. So it's a bonus. Well, some of these are curses, and they'll actually give negative values, and you can play them across the board on some of your other against your enemies. They have cards, have little cross swords on them. These are tactics, and those tactics can only be used in the battlefield that they show up in. So if you took this guy and placed him out in this first battlefield, his tactic would take effect and basically affect everybody in this battlefield. So his ability says, when played, put 2 flame counters on each enemy minion, only in that battlefield. All right? And because your guy is here, he has an ongoing ability over here on his card. He's the Demonologist. Whenever you play a demon minion, which is the type that this is, every card in this deck will have that type of symbol down on the bottom. Whenever you place one from this lineage, you may exhaust this skill card to put 2 flame counters on a non-legend enemy minion. So if your character is in that battlefield and you played it, oh look, this is a demon, I could go over here and exhaust this and place more flame counters out there. So they sort of work with each other. However, if I placed him and my guy was over in another battlefield, this card wouldn't take effect, because these are basically your person. All right? And then the third type of card is, let's use this one, is the Domain. So with this one, this is of the blood-soaked Forged. It has cards that have the exact same things on it. You got cost, some with some of them will have omens on them, some of them will not. This one, the Blood-Soaked Forge, so usually each one of these has a theme of sorts. Here's a legendary one in this, and here's that. These all have the little paw, which is part of the Blood-Soaked Forge. So it's easy to put these cards back together in their original decks. So then what would happen, your character would be Ragnar, the Demonologist of the Blood-Soaked Fjord. So these cards have 10 in the character deck, 20 in the lineage deck, and 10 in the domain deck. And these cards will stay with you. They're your character, and they're good in the battlefield that your character works in. The rest of these cards would all be shuffled together to form a 40-card deck. So you will start out with 6 energy, 6 actions, and 6 cards in hand. Yeah, wise wizards knew what they were doing there. So you would have 666, a 40-card deck, and these abilities. Now, the Blood-Soaked Fjord, it has a tactics ability, so it would only be good in a battlefield that your character was in. You may exhaust this card to give the attacking minion +1 attack, and if it's a paw print one, which is from this particular deck, a troll, you give it another +1 attack. Well, all they're doing in attack and +1s for attacks is determining how many of these dice you can roll. Now, understand, when you attach these items that give them bonuses, you will always max out at 7 dice. You can never roll more than 7 dice. So anything that reduces your attack will reduce the amount of dice that you get to roll. And basically, you'll go through the battle phase, and it's pretty quick. It's like, okay, you're going to take it. No, I'm going to make you re-roll. Okay, it goes back and forth. And then you're like, well, you know, man, I'm really trying to fight for this 3rd battlefield down here. I might let these guys go. And they'll go to the discard pile. Well, there are several effects depending, like this one deals with the flame counters, and this one deals with the trolls, and this one deals with the this one exhausts this card to search your grimoire, which is your deck, and shuffle it afterwards for a spirit wolf. And then you could play it with its cost reduced by 1. So this one deals all with spirit wolves. Well, when you mix and match these, say Virgilio, he is all about weakening minions. Now, this is a way of placing damage on cards, but to weaken a minion, you damage them, but you cannot take their last point of life. So it's damage, 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 but if they have 1 health left, you cannot weaken them beyond that point. It's basically injuring them. Tegu is a different one. His action is to exhaust this card to play a minion from your hand. You got to pay the cost, and then you get to draw 2 cards. So that's a way of refilling your hand. It's basically combining 2 actions, where you're casting a spell and you're meditating all in one turn. But that's only in the battlefield that your guy is in. So they're all different. They all have special things, and mixing and matching them is really a cool thing. The Blood-Soaked Fjord is all about blood pool. They are vampires, and you follow the amount of blood that's in your pool. The druid actually creates little tree tokens, and they turn into bigger creatures. They're spawning them everywhere. There's one that has werewolves that follows the moon phase. Of the Screaming Coast, of the Haunted Forest, they all have their own little abilities. There's a necromancer that can bring stuff back from your discard pile, your graveyard, and you can put them into play when they're there for cheaper than if you played them from your hand. So it has a lot of stuff in the deck that allows you to discard. And it's like, discard 2 cards. Why would you want to discard? Because I want to get those zombies in here and pull them back out from the dead for cheaper, or play them for free, but they still cost actions. So you got to watch those actions. Like, okay, I'm out of energy, I'm going to gain some. I need some cards, but I need to cast a card, and it's all explained on the board. It's all right here. It tells how the ready phase, the action phase, the battle phase, and the end of round, and then it tells you what all the legends are right there on the board. So once you learn the basics and know what you're trying to do, then it's all about picking a character. Like, I probably have 9 or 10 lineages, probably got 8 or 9 domains. I probably have 10 domains, and when the Kickstarter comes in for Endbringer, I'm probably going to have 6, 7, or 8 more of each of those. So imagine having 15 different characters to choose from, mixing it with 12, 14 different lineages, and then having this set of domains. I mean, the possibilities are great. And you just find what you think works. They all synergetically work together. It's really strange how it works, because you're like, well, this guy's not undead. He's about spirit wolves. How is he going to work with the fire guy and these? It works, believe me, because you've got 10 cards and 20 cards and 10 cards to work with, and you just determine where you're going to play them, how you're going to fight your battles, and defend those battlefields. But if you take 2 of them, you win the game. That's it. Quick and easy. And very mechanically sound. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. I took these out of here, and basically that's how you do it. I could shuffle one of these together and show you, but I just wanted to give you the basics on it right now. Really cool game. I fell in love with this as soon as I saw it. The artwork, again, is fantastic, but the mechanic of building these, you're not really building a deck. You're just picking 10 cards from a character, 20 cards and 10, and then shuffling them together. When you're done, you just separate them by the symbols, put them back in the little storage thing. It has little card dividers in there that I ordered that are coming in. Right now, I've just got them split, because what I did is double sleeve these so they are wider than the rest of the deck. So they're acting as card dividers anyway. So when I go to put this down in there, I've got a card or 2 that is a little bit higher than the rest of it, and I know those are the ones that come out, and these are the ones that get shuffled into the deck. So any questions, you can add comments and ask me about it, but I think you guys are going to love it, and I'm signing out. Sorry about the glare. I'm still working with my lighting. This is my new camera, by the way. See ya.